Okay, can we talk really quickly? Cool, thanks, great. Yes, there's a Pathfinder 2nd Edition blog out right now. Yes, it has new updated content, and we're gonna talk about it this week, but not right this second. As some of you may know, as some of you may have seen, circling the wide interwebs in the past few days, there's been an article by a publishing company that has no business talking about it, and I guess I'll spare you most of the details of said article. TLDR, a very contrived article written by people who have no comprehension of how earning money on the internet without a direct boss in the traditional job structure works. So they put it down on a little microscope, set it up like an animal in a zoo for people to observe. I'm not as upset about that article as I'm making it out to be. I guess actually with one exception. I will link the article for you guys. What that article failed to do when they started talking about this man who GMs Dungeons and Dragons for money, and he can do that because Game of Thrones and Stranger Things are popular, is they didn't, tell us where to find his stuff. Total party chill. His Twitch, his literal website, which I think Gen X understands how works. Websites, right, guys? Again, shows you how much they actually care about what's going on. No, what I'm concerned with today is that when I see this post shared on social media of all shapes and sizes, the response isn't bashing the people who don't understand what they're talking about and they're trying to leech onto nerd culture for money. No. By and large, every single time, what happens is the conversation devolves rapidly into a, well, why would you pay for someone to GM Dungeons and Dragons for you? Oh, I'd never do that. Things of that nature. Straight down to brass tacks on that one. That's shaming what I do for a sizable portion of my living. It is shaming what other people who I know do for a living. And so that's why we don't have a 2nd edition video today. I literally have a dog in this fight. I have a dog in this fight for the first time since we started talking about net neutrality. I know, we're already a few minutes in. You've probably clicked off if you didn't want to hear me. But that's what we're talking about today. We are talking about my job, the process involved, why it's not okay to shame people who do this for money. If that's not what you're here for, if you're just here for the Pathfinder content, please, believe me, I totally understand. I'll see you next time. But I'm going to get this one off my chest because it really frustrates me. Yes, my job is incredibly extra. Yes, I consider myself to be an incredibly lucky man because I am able to do so. The men and women who make this possible in my life, as I've said a million times, I will say one more, are the most amazing people on planet Earth, in my opinion. I literally could not do this, at least not nearly as much, without the support of those people I've cornily named the Black Dragon Disciples, my patrons. I never made it a secret almost 2 years ago when I started on YouTube that that's what I'm here for. I am doing this in an effort to sustain myself doing so. And doing that takes a lot of work, just as much as any other job. So let's not even think about everything else I do on YouTube. Basically, every day of the week, there's new content coming out. Being a YouTuber, especially a YouTuber of the Dungeons and Dragons persuasion, takes a lot of research, takes a lot of work, takes a lot of isolation in front of a computer, takes a lot of sleepless nights, but we're not worried about that today. No, we specifically want to talk about what goes in to being the pay-to-play GM. I suppose this is the part where I should talk about heart and follow your dreams and you can do it. Just like I'm sure is in the bottom of that article. Guys, I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't finish it. It's all just a bunch of crap. Obviously written by people who have no idea what in God's name they're talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I've done this for over a year. And yeah, you can do it for free. There are plenty of groups who are perfectly safe as houses, never going to break up, schedules are never going to change, they're going to play D&D for the rest of their life, and the only exchange of funds will be like buying miniatures, pizza, and beer. That's great. That sounds awesome. And to be honest, I have a group like that. It involves one of my patrons who's been one of my very closest friends, most staunchest supporters, and loyalist man I've ever known in my whole life for several years. Yeah, he gets one for free because we've been friends. So does my girlfriend, my metamor. Oh yeah, did you know I'm poly? I guess this is the video I'm coming out to the community at large with. Yeah, Lucia's sister and her boyfriend. And that group's a whole heck of a lot of fun. But that still takes a lot of work, a lot of research. And in the pay-to-play groups, especially when you're a YouTuber who has like a following who's not like all here to sit down and optimize, like I think a lot of groups are, TBH, a lot of my work goes into, well, this guy's going to play a really optimized, super mega, horrendously, terrifyingly efficient character, whereas this guy just wants to play for fun. How do I challenge them both without nerfing one or murdering the other? That's the whole thing. And I can't do that just off the cuff. Research has to happen. Homebrewing has to happen. In the case of the 2 adventure paths that are presently running on Black Dragon Gaming, reading ahead has to happen. Due diligence is a thing. And it's not like it doesn't come with a cost. I didn't really sound off on the whole people at Roll20 are bad thing, because, again, I didn't super have a dog in that fight like I have in this fight. And to be honest, I think the moral of that story, kids, is all corporations don't give a crap about you unless you can clearly prove that they do. And some you can. There's a whole different inclusion debate that we can run down. Not today. Not what we're here for. Huntesque. Fantasy Grounds Ultimate Edition has a cost. A membership to Roll20 has a cost. I've been very fortunate recently in that I can get my books on demand from Paizo, but that's just in a vacuum. Books have a cost. If you are one of those guys who can GM and make money doing so at like a game store or for a group of people you work with or whatever, miniatures have a cost. A lot of what I do at BDG is to recoup the cost. Some people don't have to do that. And I'm going to be super honest with you. If the day ever comes that Tommy Gaddy doesn't need money to survive, which is not going to happen, we all know. I solemnly swear I will disband my Patreon. Anybody who wants in, we're going to play all the games. It's going to be dope. Till that day comes, making sure I have food so I can eat. Oh, by the way, did you know I'm diabetic? I don't get to miss a day eating. I don't get to not have what many people consider to be junk food because, I spent money on miniatures or something. Because, I could crash and burn if I do so. That'd be bad. Also, on that note, that's another point to this rapidly devolving ramble that I'm having about this here. Why is GMing the game the line? It's obviously the hardest, most multifaceted thing in TTRPGs, yet we're willing to spend so much money on so much other stuff. Miniatures, books, like books for your own personal collection. Not me, GM, who needs a book. No, you, the person who just wants to own one of each mini, please. If you play on Roll20 and you like having custom character artwork for your tokens, we're willing to drop a lot of cash on that. Why are we not willing to pay somebody who is showing up for however long your games go? I'm going to say probably a minimum of 3 hours on average. I've been in games that go for longer, not for money. God, we would talk about my rates if we want to do 9-hour sessions again. I think my record is 18 consecutive hours gaming. To be young again and to not have jobs. It was good times. But the person who's DMing is the actor, the storyteller, the guy who builds all the encounters, sets up all the traps, makes sure everything is good for that party, and not just random and contrived or whatever. And yeah, please believe, I think that is a job as much as anything else. And thus, it's perfectly okay to charge for it. It's no different than being a musician, a painter, an author, anything like that. Society tends to look down on the people who are really good at making the non-necessary thing. I think it's more of a function of the way our society as a whole works. And this is around the time that somebody's going to comment and call me some dirty, lazy, leftist scumbag or something like that. One of those words is true. But to be a professional GM, lazy is the last word. that you can use to describe these people. I know I'm kind of fighting a losing battle on this one. I don't think I'll stop horrible people on the internet with nothing better to do than to just, like, when they see something they disagree with, immediately crapping on it. But, like, this is important for me and my friends. And yeah, they deserve to be compensated for their time. It's very simple. Let me leave you with this. Just real quick tidbit. This was, gosh, I guess like 3 years now. Time flies. It does. But before BDG, after my diabetes diagnosis, which before that was a long stint of unemployment, because I was literally dying. I weigh 208 pounds today. I weighed 99 then. So yeah, please believe I was sleeping more than I was looking for work. My first job after my diagnosis was operating a forklift in a factory in Slater, Missouri. I didn't know I would be operating a forklift till I got there and had spent some time there, and they realized I had some experience driving, and so they slapped me on a forklift. Easy peasy. Came home. I was living with my father at the time, and he asked me how work was, and I said, pretty good. They're going to put me on a forklift. And he said, that's great, Tommy. That's a skill. It is. In life, we earn many skills. If you know how to drive a forklift, a school bus, a big rig, a motorcycle, an airplane, I don't know, any of these things, that's a skill. People use those skills as a way of getting through the world to make money. If you have a degree, that's a skill you possess. If you are bilingual, that's a skill. So on and so forth. I don't think anybody's questioning that. If you're able to sit down with random strangers with one of two things, either a system that is very rules heavy, that you are well versed in and have a clear understanding of those rules for use in game, or, and this is probably harder, a more rules light system, being able to make fair calls that aren't just like what you want to happen in your narrative, that still allow your players to have fun, while also dealing with all the inevitable rounds of improvisation that any game of D&D comes with, period, end of story, while also denoting a lot of your time flipping through books and SRDs to find flavorful, challenging, yet not overpowering encounters, puzzles, dungeons, lore, so on and so forth, and they go away from it and enjoyed it. That's a skill. No one should shame anyone, anywhere, for having those skills and using them to better their station in life. Because that group of people includes, honestly, I think a lot of the people who are so fast to turn their nose up at the notion of someone who's a little past will GM for food. Thank you once again to all of my patrons who allow me to do this super cool stuff. We could not do it without you, but also I cannot see posted over and over and over again articles about how to DM for money get crapped on by the community without coming in and saying, no, we work hard, we deserve it.